This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty and a Google search from my site. This audio is inspired by the very recent death of Yogi Berra. He died less than 24 hours ago. This is the end of marks the end of Yogi Berra's life. It is not a solemn occasion. Not only because he was 90 years old. Uh, the, the sentiment in the press has indicated the family was ready for him to die. He was ready for him to die, and I'm making this point because I'm a little self-conscious about taking this moment and including some of my own unscripted words as a reaction. I'm including some movie script from City Slickers and then a BBC tribute. So, and I'm also have my camera on when I do a more solemn tribute. My camera would be off. I would read scripted words. Either my own words would be scripted or the words of someone else. So I'm a little self-conscious about that's the disqualifier to relax me a little bit. The items of this audio include, not sure that can be read. This is a reference to my brother and I. Uh, this is a reference to a current event synchronized with the death of Yogi Berra is Pope Francis, who was in Cuba 2 days ago and in D.C. yesterday, and I think New York today. Movie City Slickers. I'll read some of the script. I do cut about that much text out of it that I couldn't make sense of, and it was unnecessary. So I will put this up again, and I will not say that I'm skipping text, but that's sort of a visual indication that I'm skipping text. And then I'll put this up again and reference the BBC tribute to Yogi. So if you want to fast forward to that and skip all of Tom's bullshit, it is understandable, listeners. The first I will reference my brother and I phone call we had this morning is kind of a success in a relationship, but for those listeners who may be a regular repeat reader on my blog, the in no way am I acclaimed to be a man that has relationship success in uh, in many ways with men. I stood at my late son David's grave. Hadn't seen him for 4 years prior to his death. It was a terrible a moment of regret, one I've come to reconcile. And now I'm, uh, if my second born son, my third born child, were to die prematurely, God willing, he doesn't. I would be standing graveside reconciling the same debt. So in no way am I a relationship stud with men. However, they're so. Anyways, listeners, if you're looking to me for relationship advice, you've got problems. However, if you look to this moment to see what you can extract, I think there's some real relevant pieces that can be extracted and are memorable and appropriate. So, anyways, my brother and I had a decade of distance. Uh, Came together with conversations that were kind of tense. Two men who hadn't been involved in one another's life at all for a decade, all of a sudden, sort of, were a little too interested in details. I found myself wondering why he was living in Maryland and his wife living in Colorado. I didn't ask him why. He kind of volunteered that was his living situation, and I got over it. I literally got over it. It is not my point to ask if he plans to stay married or if they plan to move together. I'm just talking to him, and I'm not invited into his life in comprehensive nature. We're just brothers, and that's the theme that runs through this movie script, and again prompted by Yogi Berra. This idea that men relationships really thrive when they're not too complicated. Pope Francis is uh, just an incredible picture. He has brokered this reunion of the United States and Cuba, and there he sits with Fidel Castro. That's the most memorable picture I have. No doubt he was with Raul Castro also. And then 2 days later, the next day, he's with Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and the Obama daughters. What a wonderful scene. What a wonderful image. And this Pope, you know, fixes a relationship that has been broken, and it certainly hasn't fixed it. That's grossly overstated. But this Pope is credited to brokering the healing of a relationship broken, very broken for my entire lifetime, 5 decades. So, uh, so that's a current event, and that just happens to synchronize with the death of Yogi Berra. On to City Slickers. Here's a script. Once again, I'll pick this up to the screen when I skip the text. I will not say anything that I'm skipping it. I'll just skip it. I will go like this when I skip it. So here's the script from City Slickers. Again, this is Billy Crystal, who plays Mitch. Daniel Stern, who plays Phil. We got Bruno Kirby, Bruno Kirby and Billy Crystal again today, of course, from Harry Met Sally. He played Ed. There's Patricia Wettig, who played Barbara Robbins, who is the wife of Billy Crystal's character Mitch. So why she gets billing over Helen Slater, who was Bonnie, is strange to me because the movie, as I remember it, is completely out on. Most of it is out in the cowboy time, and the wife domestic scenes with Mitch and Barbara were minor. Perhaps I don't remember the film properly. Maybe I need to watch it again. Here's a relevant script. Again, inspired by the death of Yogi Berra, City Slickers. It begins. Oh, baseball. You got something against baseball? I used to live with a guy who is like a baseball encyclopedia. I just got flashes. You broke up with him because of baseball? So you hate baseball? No, I like baseball. I just never understood why you guys can spend so much time discussing it. I've been to games, but I don't memorize who played third base for Pittsburgh in 1960. Don Hoak beat you. That's exactly what I mean. So why do you and your friends talk about, well, real life, relationships? Are they working? Are they not? Who's seeing who? Is that working? No contest. We win. Why? Honey, if that were as interesting as baseball, they'd have cards for it and sell it with gum. Ed, I see the sun the first time to hibernate again. You're right, I suppose. I guess it's childish. But when I was about 18, and my dad and I couldn't communicate about anything at all, we could still talk about baseball. And that's the end of the City Slickers script. I didn't hold this up. I forgot. The break was between you. You broke up because of baseball. I skipped a bunch of text, and then it continues. Not a bunch of text, like that much text, and then it continues with. So you hate baseball. That's where I picked up. And now this is a more appropriate tribute to Yogi Berra, and it's long. So again, this is Yogi, written by BBC in today's news. I will have no other words other than my howdy doody close. I'll have no other words at the end of this. Baseball legend Yogi Berra dies at 90. Yogi Berra is widely considered the greatest catcher in sport. Baseball legend Yogi Berra, whose humorous quotes made him one of America's most loved sports icons, has died at the age of 90. The Yogi Berra Museum announced that the Hall of Famer catcher had died on Tuesday evening. Berra spent almost all of his 19-year career with the New York Yankees. He was the 3-time most valuable player and the 13-time World Series champion. His famous Yogiism quotes included, "It ain't over till it's over." Berra also said to have inspired the cartoon character Yogi Bear. Jump media player, help out media player. Please return the tab. The man behind "It ain't over till it's over." Yogi Berra's greatest quotes. It's like deja vu all over again. It ain't the heat, it's the humidity. Baseball is 90% mental and the other half is physical. I never said I never said most of the things I said. Take it with a grain of salt. If you don't like if you don't know what you're doing, you might end up if you don't know where you're going, you might end up someplace else. He hits from both sides of the plate. He's amphibious. I'll read that again. He hits from both sides of the plate. He's amphibious. You can't observe a lot by watching. You can observe a lot by watching. The future ain't what it used to be. Never answer an anonymous letter. When you come to a fork in the road, take it. Always. I always thought the record would stand unbroken until it broke. It would stand until it was broken. I'll do the whole one again. I always thought the record would stand until it was broken. If the word was perfect, it wouldn't be. Always go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they won't go to yours. The Berra family said in a statement, "While we mourn the loss of our father, grandfather, and great grandfather, we know he's at peace with Mom. We celebrate a remarkable life, and we are thankful he means so much to so many. He will truly be missed." Tributes have already begun to pour in from the world of baseball. Listeners, a side note, these were in Twitter screen captures. They did not translate into my script. The New York Yankees tweeted simply, "We have lost an icon." Major League Baseball tweeted, "We mourn the passing of Yankee icon Hall of Famer Yogi Berra." LA Rangers slugger Shane Victorio tweeted, "My thoughts and prayers are with the Berra family. Yogi, you were an icon and a legend, and those who played an amazing game of baseball." Berra launched a defamation lawsuit over the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Yogi Berra, although he later withdrew it. The management said the name was a coincidence, but it was widely believed he was the inspiration. Berra was born Lawrence Peter to Italian immigrants in St. Louis in 1925. He was said to have been given the nickname Yogi by a friend who saw him sitting cross-legged and looking like a meditating yogi. He greeted Pope the 13th at the Vatican by saying, "Hello, Pope," received the reply, "Hello, Yogi." Although the career highlights were 15 straight MLB game appearances. He played he played for the Yankees from 1946 to 1963. That's the year I was looking for. Yogi Berra quit. He retired the year before I was born. Winning 10 World Series alongside the likes of fellow Hall of Famers Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle. After finishing playing, he coached or managed the Yankees and New York Mets to 3 more titles. I said I wouldn't have comments at the end, but I do, because I'm not sure if I tied in the Pope John the 13th with the idea that Pope Francis, Papa Francisco they call him. I think he's Papa Francisco Primera. He's Pope Francis the first. So Pope John the 13th was greeted by Yogi Berra in this way that broke protocol, broke tradition, broke every rule. He's an Italian, so he's probably certainly schooled in kissing the ring and the protocol required for the Pope, and for him to greet the Pope, hello Pope, is an outrage. For him to be replied to, hello Yogi, is hysterical. Some people can get away with these things. He is clearly one of them, was. And secondly, that's a fitting tie to Pope Francis and all the attempts he's making to break with protocol. Francisco Primera, is breaking all the rules. He greets people he shouldn't. He doesn't greet people he should. He doesn't do interviews. He drives a Fiat. He rides around in a Fiat. So the fact that this is a moment of breaking protocol with Yogi Berra, it ties into the MO of the current Francisco Primera, Papa Francisco Primera. The other thing I wanted to mention, I talked to my brother this morning. I feel like I omitted that. And this Yogi Berra was part of the conversation. It was wonderful. I'm at Enviago, I think this place is called. I'm pretty sure that's wrong. It's a Colombian restaurant. It's a cafe. I've got a nice ceramic cup of cafe con leche on the table next to me. This cafe is a green and orange and yellow, what Americans call Spanish tile, trimming the dining room. And they have buñuelos and pan de bonos and arepas, which I'll have soon. I'm on Bergen Line Avenue at 51st, New Jersey, near the Lincoln Tunnel. This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, a restful night's sleep. And ciao, Yogi Berra. Ciao, listeners.